Hello again, it's Andrew here, and this is episode 70. Ooh, how they click along of our series, and we're continuing in Matthew. At this point, we are having the second in our what will be a series of 3 on the temptations in the desert of Jesus. So we're at Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 to 11, and I'm going to propose to read the whole piece again. Excuse me just a minute. Cheers. Black coffee. So we pick it up, Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. He fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and afterwards he was famished. The tempter came and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But he answered, "It's written, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and placed him on the pinnacle of the temple, saying to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He will command His angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up so that you will not dash your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him again, "Again it is written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." Again the devil took him up to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in their splendour, and said to him, "All these I will give to you if you will fall down and worship me." Jesus said to him, "Away from me, away with you, Satan. For it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only." Then the devil left him, and suddenly angels came and waited on him. As I said, yes, we are continuing in this series. Yesterday we considered the temptation at the end of his fasting to turn stones into bread. And the basic thesis of yesterday was that little things actually matter. So today we are confronted, as we were yesterday, with this rhetorical question: if you are the Son of God. And what it seems to me is that one of the key tools of the enemy of our souls is to cast doubt, especially upon the call and the goodness of God. We go back to Genesis chapter 3, and the question that he poses in the garden is, has God really said? And as you start to dig down into that, you see that what he's doing is calling into question the goodness, the generosity, the kindness of God. He actually really tries to cast God as one who is actually holding out on us, that cannot be trusted. And so here we see the same thing, calling into question the purposes of God. If you are the Son of God. And it's casting doubt into the mind. He casts doubt into the mind of Jesus, or he attempts to. Cast doubt into our minds. Has God really called you? Do you think God really could possibly be at work within you? Here he seeks to undermine Jesus. Here he seeks to determine what Jesus' response will be. It's interesting. He sets a scenario up and tries to put Jesus into a corner, trying to set the agenda for him, both inviting him yesterday to turn stone into bread, and today into taking a big leap to prove that he's the one. Show us by your miraculous power that you are the Son of God. Now, as I did yesterday, I think it's important today to emphasize that these temptations are real. It would not have been a test if the outcome was a foregone one, if the conclusion was already determined, that Jesus could not possibly fail. It seems to me, though, as Jesus' experience was, that these tests were real. They were real. And there was the temptation to do other than what he knew ultimately he should and did do. It's also worth noticing that these temptations are not only temptations for Jesus. They also speak to us, to what it means to be human. There's an archetypal quality to the temptations that we have here. That when we read them, this is not just a story about Jesus. This is not just a narrative to explain the kind of challenges that Jesus faced. This is actually our story that is also being told. These things that Jesus faced are things that we also face. They're things that we have in common. They're part of the core of what it means to be human. He's telling his story, he's also telling our stories. And these stories hold a mirror up to us, invite us to recognize our own struggles. We saw that yesterday, where there's a temptation to break the fast early, the little things that matter, and we see it again today. I'm noticing again the richness of Scripture. I had an email from one of my friends talking about the message yesterday, and it's quite clear from his response that he would have wanted to focus on other things and major on other things and to talk about other things, particularly the issue of fasting and how beneficial it is. And I agree. It's not just beneficial in terms of weight loss, it's spiritually beneficial as well. I'm only too aware of that. I mean, I've had a practice, I haven't been doing it lately, but before the earthquakes of fasting 2 days a week. And it is important, it is significant. Here's the thing though. What it seems to me is that there are many different ways that we can read a text and apply it to our own situation. I have little doubt that if I were to put this passage, the one we're looking at today, as with yesterday, before 10 people and ask them to prepare an episode on it, we would likely get 10 different messages. I've seen this before. Years ago I ran a preaching class, and that's exactly what happened. It was particularly a narrative text. I might have had half a dozen people in the class, and they'd all come up with something completely different. It was fascinating. And they're not contradictory, not usually anyway. And we can see this as we open Scripture, that it speaks to people, it speaks to each of us in different ways, and it will speak to us in different times in our lives. We each tap into Scripture differently, according to where we are, our age and stage of life, according to our history, what's happened to us in the past, according to our philosophical bent and the way that we see things, according to what we had for breakfast and what it's doing to our digestion. All these things can affect how we come to Scripture and how we open it and how we receive it. So what I'm putting before you today is probably more about me than it is about the text. After all, it's always about me. And what I want you to do is to give yourself permission, as if you need to appropriate the text for yourself, to allow God to speak to you in your context and your situation according to what it is that you might need to hear. My reading of it is only one of many possible options. So let's pick up the text again and consider my reading of it today. Verse 5, the devil took him to the holy city and placed him on the pinnacle of the temple, saying to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him, "Again it is written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." As I said, the temptation had to be real. I can picture Jesus standing on the edge of the temple roof, a flat roof. It's a long way down to the floor below, the courtyard of the temple. And the stop is final. As one once said, it's not the fall that kills you, it's the sudden stop. Why would Jesus even contemplating jumping? as an act of bravado, just to prove that he could, just to secure God's action in protecting him from the consequences? I don't believe so. People jump out of despair when they see that their options have become so limited that it seems to be that jumping is the best one. This has caused me to reflect upon my own standing on the edges of tall buildings' roofs, as I was called to in my previous life at some time, and on cliffs, which often, nearly always, well, they invariably filled me with a sense of horror. It may not have happened to you, but I've heard that little voice more than on one occasion, insistently egging me. Jump! Jump! Come on, I dare you! Jump! And I recoil, I step back in horror, seeking to grasp hold of something firm and secure. So what's that all about? I'm assuming that I'm not the only one that has experienced that. And what is it about? I think there's a recognition that life at times has been difficult, and that this is a way out, maybe. For Jesus, he's just about to start the last chapter in his life. The bit towards everything up until now has been leading. Has he got it in him? These may be the questions that are being asked of him. Has he got the chops to go the course? He knows it's going to be difficult, and how it's all going to end. Can he do it? Has he got the strength, the energy, the grace, the wit, the willpower, the determination, the courage to see it right through to the end, and to make this day by day journey to fulfill his destiny? And what if he's wrong? If you are the Son of God, as the enemy is causing him to doubt, maybe the thought occurs to him, what if I'm just a deluded soul? This will decide the matter one way or another. If I survive, I know it's real. If I don't, then I'm not the chosen one, and it's best that I'm gone. Is this the way that temptation is put to him? I don't know. Does a sense of dread, of despair, hover over his soul? This is all too hard, too big, more than I can handle. All I can see down this path is pain and suffering. Is that what is going on within him? It may be. He's stepping into the unknown. His ministry is yet to start. He doesn't yet know how it will all go, how people will respond to him. Will he be an instant success, an overnight YouTube sensation? Or will he be a fizzer? Will people find him boring and just turn away? Or will people listen? Will they be drawn to him? Will people be open to his message? Will they be open to the healing life which he's proclaiming and offering to them? We see this, it seems to me, as the corresponding challenge at the other end in the Garden of Gethsemane. These two moments, this temptation here at the beginning of his ministry, and the temptation in the Garden of Gethsemane at the end of his ministry, of the end of his life and ministry, as the two bookends of that life and ministry. Both have a sense of looking forward to the future with a sense of dread. Both have the temptation of seeking to find a way out. This is one place where I believe that Mel Gibson's movie, The Passion of the Christ, hits the nail on the head. He's on the money. In his movie, he portrays Satan in the garden, standing alongside Jesus. And it's at these two places, the desert and in the garden, that destiny of Jesus, and of the world is settled. Now this leads me to one final consideration. It's a bit of a segue, but it's important nevertheless. And I want to suggest to you that the primary tool that Satan has in his toolbook is the ministry of discouragement. It's really helpful to realize that. The enemy of our souls does not want us to experience fullness of life, the fullness that Jesus offers us. He comes only to steal, to kill, and to destroy. It's useful to recognize that, particularly if you're feeling in the pits, the depths, to realize that this is not just about you, that there is another player at work, intent on making sure that you stay miserable, you stay powerless, you stay defeated. I'm aware that there have been times, and relatively recently, where I've just sort of had a kind of underpinning sense of malaise, of dread. And as I was thinking about that this morning and realizing that, I felt the whole thing lift. Aware that actually I too, as you will be, from time to time are under attack. And this is one of the ways in, the sense of discouragement. It doesn't have to remain that way. And simply recognizing it allows you to see it shift. As I said at the very beginning, the temptation in the desert had to be real. The option of bailing, or jumping in this case, had to be live options squarely on the table for Jesus. And this shows us that Jesus struggled just as we do. He was and is one with us. I like the way the writer of Hebrews puts it in the King James Version in chapter 4 verse 15. For we do not have an high priest who cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities, of our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. He was in all points, in every way, tempted like we are. Nothing that you have been through or are going through is beyond his experience and understanding at some deep level. The circumstances might not be the same, but the whole sense of it, the whole feelings that are invoked will be the same. And he stands not in judgment of you, but stands ready alongside to strengthen you and to help. He's been there before you. You are not alone. God bless you.